Hi, good evening, everybody. It is Steve with Real Progressives, and out here on the East Coast, we might call it the morning. It's 12:13 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. There's a term that I'm going to bring up tonight in this live stream, and the term is called transition. Transition is a dirty word. It's a word that most people don't want to talk about. It's a word that seems like watered down. It's not radical enough. It doesn't have enough punch. But unfortunately, transition is the name of the game. Everything that we deal with, every single thing that we deal with, is a transition. If we don't understand where we're going or how we're going to get there, what we need to do today, not in 50 years, not in 100 years, not in 1,000 years, but today, we can't get anywhere. We just end up spinning our wheels. We end up thinking we found a better mousetrap. We end up thinking that we've got the keys to the kingdom, and we're dealing with very limited knowledge today. We are dealing with very, very, very limited knowledge today. The reason why I say this is this. As a people, as a society, we've only advanced so far. We only know so much, and we only have so much capacity to change. People as a whole don't want to change. They don't want to learn new things. They don't want their past invalidated. They don't want to hear something that makes them have to challenge their very existence and the way they view the world. Today, right here, right now, we are stuck in a situation where you've got 1,000 different voices trying to guide us down 1,000 different paths. And unfortunately, people are taking and not considering where we are today, where we are at this minute in time. For a refresher course, Russian trolls notwithstanding, the vast majority of Americans are center or center-right or right-wing even. The left, if you will, isn't the big pie here. The vast majority of people, even if they are miserable, are content in their misery, sadly. Changing people's minds, getting them to embrace new ideas, getting them to consider an alternative way of viewing the world is very, very challenging. It's very difficult. Trust me. When you look at what we call a resource-based economy, coming from the Jacques Fresco world, the Venus Project, and other things, it sounds very, very cool. I mean, you look at it, you hear about it, it makes good popular lore. People want to talk about it, but there's no basis in our immediate future for a resource-based economy, unfortunately, or fortunately, however you see it. The problem is that today, we can't even get people to understand that pieces of paper, just little pieces of paper, are created out of thin air. We can't get them to understand that dollars are keystroked into existence. We can't get them to understand that the government that created the dollar can't go broke. We can't get them to understand that basic stuff. So how are we going to suddenly upend everything? We're going to get rid of the monetary system. We're going to go ahead and make sure everybody is sharing with each other. All of our neighbors are going to share with each other. All of our neighbors are going to join hands and create local farms. All of our neighbors are going to do this like that. It's ridiculous. It's not possible. People resist change no matter how good it is for them. No matter how nice it might be, they resist change. And they always resist change. Always. There are very, very few people in this world, that actually embrace change. They say the one constant in life is change. And yet it's the one thing people can handle the least. So when change happens, everybody's free-falling and they're wondering, where do they fit in this new paradigm? Where do they fit in this new world? I mean, when we start talking about race relations even, you can see the weeping and gnashing of teeth of many of the white Americans in this country who feel like their place in society is based on being able to look down on other races or other people. And you look at this and you see all these situations where you got classism. People don't want to give up their class. They don't like class, but at the same time, when they're benefiting from it, they don't want to give it up. So when we talk at Real Progressives about the things that we want to talk about, the reason why we're talking about them now is, well, a couple-fold, right? Number one, we all lived through the Bernie Sanders campaign. We all came to believe that the word democratic socialism wasn't a dirty word, that it was a word that we could take back from the people that smeared socialism for so long. Democratic socialism is something that is a little bit more, I don't want to say palatable, but it's a transition. It's a place where people can have a hybrid system from this capitalist system we have today, mixing and matching with a more egalitarian, fair, balanced society which is worker-led, etc. over here. So you've got a transition strategy versus rip and replace and make everybody go nuts when they're not going to accept it to begin with. They're going to reject the transplant. They're going to reject the new idea, not because it's not a good idea, but because people resist change. So going back to the Bernie Sanders campaign, man, he was saying things during that campaign that even though we had heard them from the far left, we didn't really believe they were possible. They just sounded good. But for the first time in my entire lifetime, I'll be 49 years old on Sunday. In my lifetime, I had never heard a candidate ever speak about a New Deal, really speak and mean it, and make me believe that it was possible. So whether you like him or not, that's the point. One person in my 49 years made me believe that it was possible to have a New Deal. When Jill spoke, I didn't believe it was possible because I knew they didn't have the strength in their party to make it happen. I knew that they didn't have the economic minds backing them to actually make it happen. I knew that they were used to being an activist party, not a governing party. So I never really believed that Jill had the capability of actually doing any of these things. It's not because she's a bad person, it's because she didn't have the strength. She didn't have the political clout. And more importantly, the things that they say are very difficult for the average person to swallow. Unfortunately, they talked about a lot of austere things, a lot of things that made you dial your lifestyle back, made you have to think about living leaner, tighter, meaner, right? Some of these things were absolutely unnecessary. Some of them were because they didn't understand economics, so they decided that we have to cut these things down. And in reality, what we've got is a situation, once again, where people, the large majority of people, don't believe it's possible. They don't have enough evidence to say that we can do these wild transitions. So you end up with incrementalism. You end up with small bites because people's deficit of imagination is just that. They're resistant to change and they can't envision a world that's better. They can envision some far-off world, some resource-based economy, right? This way far out thing that has no chance of being done anytime soon, unfortunately. But they can't envision what the next steps in this transition are. Now, for those of you who have gone on a hiking trip or some trip that wasn't scripted, you didn't have a tour guide taking you somewhere, right? You just wandered and you went and looking around. I've been there, and things didn't go right. And all of a sudden you end up somewhere you never imagined, someplace you never dreamed of. And it was better than you could have ever planned it out to be. Far better than you could have ever planned it out to be. So what do? You have to put one foot in front of the other. You can't take a giant leap for mankind and get to Z. You can't start from A and then get to Z. You still have to go to A, B, C, D, right? You still got to move through this process. Because unfortunately, it's not just you transitioning. You've got 350 million Americans that have to join you on this transition, for good or for bad. 350 million Americans have to join you on this transition. Now, you can see clearly, even on social media, that the average person is cynical. The average person takes more pride in their ability to throw a quick, little quip, a little cynical troll status or something else, rather than dig in and learn these things. So a massive transition requires massive education. And you know what? You look at the videos. This is no joke. Some of our best interviews, some of our best live streams ever have an average watch time of under 12 minutes. And you can watch the numbers up here on the thing as they fluctuate. If you didn't catch them in the first 10 seconds, the first 5 seconds even, if their attention wasn't grabbed that quickly, they're gone like a little skittle, skedaddle. So you want to talk about some massive resource-based economy? You can't keep people's attention for more than a couple seconds. And then politicians have to enact it. Well, last time I looked, we can't even get Medicare for all passed. How in the world are you going to get a full-blown resource-based economy where we get rid of the money or we shift everything around, we do this, we do that? How are you getting that done? Help me understand your strategy. And what I'm hearing is a lot of good ideas. The good idea box, if you will, right? It's this good idea box that you're not going to be able to do. You can work towards something. But again, like the traveler that didn't script their trip, you're going to end up somewhere very different tomorrow. Even if everything lines up perfectly, it may be even better than what you envisioned. People always say, well, is this a transition to socialism? People got this idea that just socialism in and of itself is the panacea for all the ills of society. And I got to tell you, tomorrow may be something even better. Tomorrow may be something that you never even dreamed of. Something that you never heard of before. But we got to get there first. We got to put one foot in front of the other. And so what should be the first order of priority? Right? In my mind, the first 2 orders of priority: save the people, save the planet. 1A, 1B. Without a planet, there are no people. And without people, who cares about a planet? We won't be around anyway. So those are the first 2 things that I care about. Before I care about some ideological resource-based economy, before I care about some ideological socialism, before I care about some ideological, anything else, I care about taking care of the people, and I care about taking care of the planet. And so today, right now, not tomorrow, not 1,000 years later, but today, what can we do to take care of the people and take care of the planet? Now, it's great to write Isaac Asimov, novels for some future society. We can talk about colonizing the moon. We can talk about colonizing some other Earth, some Gaia somewhere. We can talk about all kinds of stuff. We can have these great talks. But in order to make great change today, you've got to focus on today. I'm not even joking. I watch the viewers. It's like a needle jumping up and down. It's sad how quickly, you can lose people's attention. How easy it is, no matter what you're talking about, to lose people's attention. And that little metric up there shows me beyond the shadow of a doubt that big sweeping changes for some resource-based economy and all the other things that people dream of, the people don't have enough attention span to grab hold of that. They don't have enough drive because they'll get sidetracked worrying about Russians, or they'll get sidetracked worrying about some other guy. They'll get sidetracked about some current event, Donald Trump's toupee, whatever. It's going to be a constant drive to making change by getting 350 million Americans to pay attention, even in short order. This is the hardest part about being an activist. It's the hardest part about being a visionary. You got people that are fickle, that got about 5 seconds of brain span to listen. They click on, they click off, they're gone. They won't hear what was said. And then they'll run around, you'll bump into them in another chat somewhere, and they'll have the same argument with you then. They could have listened to and heard your point the night before, but they had 3 seconds. They're like a squirrel, like a small mouse. It's got this, they don't have enough time to listen to something and understand it. They don't. So this is not to say don't dream big. But this is to say be understanding of the 350 million Americans, most of which won't give you more than 5 seconds. We jumped up to 40-some people watching, then we dropped down to 36, then we jumped back up to 40, whatever. You know, it's just that kind of thing. And you look at the YouTube metrics and you can see the same exact thing. Over and over again. People with minor attention spans, very minor attention spans. You're not going to pass sweeping changes. You're not going to get, I mean, look at these protests even. They're a flash in the pan and they're done. They're gone. You know, shake your fist at the sky and you're done. I did it. I got the t-shirt and I got the coffee mug to prove it. And they're done. We've got to start focusing on transitions. We got to start focusing on what we can do today. And so this is why our group focuses on macroeconomic reality. We focus on overturning the lies and myths that we've been told about the economic system so that we can make some change today, so we can save some lives today. And now we're down to 39 because of people's attention spans, or I'm boring, or something else. That's pathetic. This is literally what I'm talking about. You are not going to see the kind of change you need in this country with people with a 20-second attention span. You're just not. You're just not. And we have got to do something because people are dying today. Our planet is screwed. People don't have clean water. I mean, Flint, Michigan still hasn't been fixed. Puerto Rico is still fucked up. It's all fixable right now. But we can't get people to focus long enough to make a real change. So as you start dreaming of a better world, dreaming of a better idea, remember, you have 350 million Americans you got to take on that journey with you. And you've got to make it so that they will not reject the transplant. So they don't reject the surgery, you know? So I'm telling you right now, as someone who fights this thing day in, day out, and who gets discouraged every single day. Every day I get discouraged. Every time I see it drop below 40, I realize it's almost hopeless. Because people's attention, there it goes to 37. It's enough to make you want to say, fuck it all. Because this right here is what your citizenry is. This is what we're dealing with. These are the people you got to count on to stay firm and in the fight. But they can't stay. Their minds go just like that. And that is why you're not going to have some radical change. You've got to focus on what we can accomplish. And through modern monetary theory, we can accomplish at least a New Deal and a society that no longer has the threat of destitution, of unemployment hanging over its head. But we're still stuck with the same freaking short attention spans. Bumper sticker politics. So just remember this every time you think you've got this really grand idea. Just remember, you've got a whole bunch of people that are going to be opposed to it, and you got a whole bunch of people with about 3 seconds to give you as you try to present it. I'm Steve Grumbine with Real Progressives. Have a great weekend, everybody.